go.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker, what do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Corn from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, we're going to celebrate today and honor the final day in Westfield, if not for the foreseeable future for the Colts in training camp here at Drop Light Grant Park. But I would guess forever, maybe, and pouring one out. Actually, I didn't pour it out. You know how I roll. But honoring what is the final day in Westfield and being here in the final day in Westfield, this is going to be a bit of a unique viewpoint that you guys are going to have if you're following on our video stream on YouTube Live. Because normally I know that the shows have been inside this tent. There is not a damn way in this world I'm sitting in that swampy tent right there. So I am out here in the sun the entire time, and you're going to see people walk behind. Actually, if you're watching right now, and I apologize to those listening on the radio or with the non-visual effects, but I immediately corner of the end zone, and he is just off camera. You can see our good friend Blake Groupie right over there. Groupie is right over there. He is ready to get some work. He is motivated because one of the groupies is set to do a show out here today. Hey, welcome in again. This is Drop Light Grant Park. We're in Westfield for the final time and the final of two joint practices with the Falcons and the Colts. I know Kevin Stefanski actually got in the media scrum with that. I don't know why. I just felt compelled to do so a little bit earlier. I got in the media scrum with that when I was up here. But we're going to watch this final one. We're going to talk to DeForest Buckner coming up a little bit later on. I'm trying to maneuver. I'm trying like hell to maneuver to get Keenan Allen on here. But, again, since he signed yesterday, they're not giving me a thumbs up on it. But never say die, baby. What did the Goonies say? Never say die. Never say die. We're going to keep trying for you out here. And in the process, hopefully entertain. I've got a list full of guests that will join, including Mike Chappell a little bit later on in his usual Thursday, 5 o'clock in that general vicinity scenario. I saw Stephen Holder a little bit earlier. He can slide right on here. Matt Taylor, the voice of the Colts, can do the same. Greg Rakestraw is hanging around. I think Greg's going to join us around 4, provided we don't have somebody else scheduled right there. Reason being is tomorrow night, everything gets real in high school football. That is the ultimate. Training camp is one thing, right? Training camp is one thing when you know it's time to get started with football, and football is back. Kind of get you juiced a little bit, but the Friday Night Lights in the state of Indiana is really going to get you juiced, and we'll talk a little bit more about that because you have some monumental matchups in night number 1. Greg is going to slide in here coming up in the 4 o'clock hour as well. As I mentioned, DeForest Buckner will join coming up a little bit later on. It's weird, right? Because I was feeling sick all week long, and Caleb can also attest to this. I've been taking all sorts of drugs, so I've been in and out of coherency, which is usual. It's not anything that's outside of the norm, but in and out of coherency for the past week. I had some incredible dreams last night, Caleb, regarding the questions and the Q&A that I have with DeForest Buckner. I think I came up with some really good ideas in my dreams last night. It was weird. I was dreaming about this show today. So, yeah, I got some good good ideas out of that.
A little brainstorm session.
Yeah, normally my best ideas come in the shower.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of good things come in the shower. I mean, I'm getting clean and scrubbed and right. But normally my best ideas for this show and for the All Request Saturday night come from the shower. But last night it was thinking about the conversation. For whatever reason, with DeForest Buckner, who's going to join us a little bit later on. We should also mention that it is now etched in stone. Etched in stone that it is DAZN that will be the content provider for the Pacers this season. 22 free games this season for no cost on DAZN's app, with 15 of those 22 games also expected to be available through a local over-the-air broadcast partner. In addition, fans will be able to access Pacers preseason games absolutely free via DAZN. 50% off the season pass for fans who sign up before October the 15th. It is the early bird season pass of $59.99. 50% off the regular $119.99 price, bringing the cost at about $1 a game. Free DAZN season pass for Pacers season ticket holders. All Pacers season ticket holders will receive complimentary DAZN season pass subscriptions for the 2026-2027 season. So, I will tell you my angle on it. I got no choice. I'm like Richard Gere and Officer and a Gentleman. I got nowhere else to go. I got to watch these things. I mean, hell, I want to watch these things. So I got to watch. So, thus, I'm going to have to get it. So, what about everybody else out there? How do you feel about it? Should it have been in its entirety absolutely free? Are you going to pay for this? See, here's the problem that I have when I'm like, wagging my finger at everybody. Well, remember, you got to do this, and you got to save money, and I can't believe they're charging you. I'm the biggest idiot of all time in the whole category of television content. I pay a crap ton, and I basically watch like 3 different things all the time. That's just me. That's just me not being very bright. But I'm asking the folks out there how you feel about that, because it is better than what was originally thought DAZN was going to be. I know this to be true because I'm a member of that generation. If you're the member of the older generation, you probably think most of this streaming stuff sucks anyway, unless it's absolutely at your leisure. You think it stinks, and you're bummed out about that. Maybe you don't mind if your streaming service is coupled with something else that you're going to watch. I don't know what else it might be that you plan on watching with your DAZN subscription. But in this case, for me, I got nowhere else to go on this. I mean, that's it. The only reason I had, and I guess I could drop some of DirecTV right now too, because there's really, outside of watching the Reds, which I haven't done too much this year because they suck, I mean, the only other reason I specifically had it was for the Pacers. Now, here's also a lane that you have. The streaming apparatus of a year ago was an absolute disaster. It was a disaster, it was. And the streaming services you've had to deal with, they've been disasters. And as I've said, this also is for the older generation. You, like me, you just want to hit a button and go, hey, there you are. I say this all the time. You have to be in an all-inclusive club. You have to let everybody behind the door, behind the curtain. Everybody has to be allowed in around here. I mean, maybe if you're in New York or in your L.A., maybe it's going to be a little bit easy for you. I will say this, from what Caleb explained, Minnesota dialed up with DAZN. This does sound better, but let's face it, there are a lot of folks out there that are under the impression if I have to pay anything, I'm not doing it. If I'm going to be on the hook for anything more than I already pay for the service that I get, then I'm not going to do it. And there's a large group of people out there right now. All right, I'm going to give you an example of what I'm going to have to deal with. And this is going to be yet another angle for a lot of folks out there, because Pacer fans aren't all just my age or your age, especially if you're younger. My mom, who lives in a rural area of southwestern Indiana, is arguably the biggest Pacer fan and Obi Toppin fan alive, easily. And she wants to watch. I've already heard from her today. She wants to watch every game. How is she going to watch? Now, I guess I can include her in the stream, but that will be a tutorial, right? A tutorial of how to hook this up. And she does have streaming because she watched Yellowstone and some other crap. I think she had maybe Netflix and maybe even Paramount. I can't remember what she had. So she is capable of doing it. But the problem remains when she goes from getting something that she specifically joined DirecTV for a couple of years ago to make sure she got it, and then to go and have to mess around with the streaming services again, that's going to be something to explain. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go down there and explain it. In fact, here's what I thought. I told Jay Query this a little bit earlier today. I said, because yesterday with David Keckner was so outstanding at 4:30, right, so outstanding that we needed something that was the same as David Keckner was yesterday on this show. David Keckner, by the way, is going to be at Helium Nightclub, the comedy club, coming up this weekend. So if you missed any of that yesterday, the podcast is at 1075thefan.com. I still don't really, after watching that again, what it was all about. But anyway, we felt the need that we had to have something in the 4 o'clock hour to make up for no David Keckner today. Thus, I thought about maybe calling my mom and trying to explain this to her. So that as confused as you were yesterday with Champ, with Keckner, you would be equally confused about all the questions that will be lobbed to me regarding this. The final thing about it is just for a lot of people outside the ordinary. And believe me, on National Radio Day, which I celebrate more than probably anybody out there, that's me. I am radio. I love radio. I know some of the hurdles that radio is trying to overcome right now. I'm not a part of the radio problem. I've never been a part of the radio problem. Nobody has been more inclusive to me. Now, others may have made decisions that have put me in a position to be a part of the issue, i.e., the AM signal, right? Maybe others made that decision, but that's not on me. I refuse to do stuff that is not 100% authentic and me live, and if I blank it up, I blank it up. And I add a 6-day on Saturday night for the fun of it that has transitioned with the JMV takeover into something that I could have never imagined now, and I'm glad I did. It's because I love radio. But it's something that radio has understood. You got to get going with the technology because ultimately the technology, it's going to leave you behind. And I think that's the case that we find ourselves in right now. And under the microscope is the Pacers and DAZN. And a lot of teams in the NBA are going through it. And now to watch the Pacers, you're going, I got to pay $59.99 to watch the Pacers. This all stinks. But at some point in time, you're going to have to go through this. Now, you have to make the decision whether or not that time is now because we still, on National Radio Day, we offer the radio broadcast with Mark Boyle and Eddie Gill and Pat Boylan, which is awesome, and I still love it. But obviously everybody wants to watch. And if you want to watch, you're going to have to advance a little bit, not even into the future, but probably into the recent history of where streaming is. And I don't have any other answers for you that are good. I just know this to be true. Radio has found it difficult at times to make sure that the content is easily accessible for you. And I've said this all along. You have to be. There he is. Rick Venturi's in the house today, buddy. How you doing, man? They didn't blow the horn until you walked in here, pal. Let me tell you that. They go, let me get him in here. But I know it's difficult, but I do want to get your thoughts today. And I also want to get the thoughts of somebody of the younger generation. And that is producer Caleb Zuver back there. of the younger generation, and you're knowledgeable about this. It's going to take you about 5 seconds to get all this together and qualify it. But honestly, what do you think about this deal that was announced earlier today with DAZN, the content provider of the Pacers?
I actually think it's a lot better than what it could have been. You know, when these rumors, John, first started, it was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be $34 a month. This is going to price people out. This is what DAZN charges. And actually, it turns out, you know, if you got to get in on the early bird thing, because then it's just going to come out to $60 for the whole season, which I think is a great. So you got to make sure you do that. As long as you do that, I think this is actually a best case scenario for what we were facing.
I do think it's the best case scenario. I do understand those out there that find an issue or a problem with it. And then you're relying upon the Pacers just basically to back up everything and win some games. And then to make this, you know, much too interesting. And, yeah, again, I want there to be something. Over-the-air would be great. A lot of people have suggested, why not an over-the-air station? Why couldn't that be done? I mean, for example, the way that things happen with the Fever right now, it's probably difficult for Channel 13 at WTHR, the NBC affiliate, to explain to their network, NBC, that we're going to preempt you about how many times in your prime time situation for these Pacer games. I mean, ultimately, that is just not going to happen.
Hey, did Jonathan Taylor just run behind you, John? I think Jonathan Taylor, he got in the YouTube stream. He was running a drill. Is that what just happened?
We got it. I'm supposed to keep the camera off the field here, but as I told you, there's zero way I'm going to sit in this swamp tent right here. There's zero way I'm going to do that. So there's Laquan Treadwell right there. Just caught a touchdown pass, I guess is what you call it right there. So James Boyd's getting some videos right there. There you go. That's right. Hey, he about knocked you down, man. You better back up a little bit. Where's that red line? I think James just about got run over right there. He's What's that? I know, man. He's just about got run over. That's pretty. Hey, I am kind of right here, though, man. This is not bad, Caleb. Not bad at all.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed. I think I'm allowed to be on the other side of the red dashes right here, is what it was said. But, man, that came right in the old kitchen right there, which was pretty sweet, I would think. Pretty doggone sweet right there. All right, anyway, we'll get your thoughts on that. Dustin DePurak is going to further straighten this thing out. I was going to ask him a variety of things, including I'm a big fan, as you know. My son and I, we watch Montreal Canadiens games. So we watch the NHL. Thus, we have the center ice package. And we get all the NHL games over the course of the regular season, and we don't have to mess with it. At the same time, I kind of wonder, is there still a package, Caleb, out there where you can get everything as you used to with whatever the season ticket or the full court or whatever
League
package
pass.
that is? Is there still an NBA package? Yeah, the League Pass. Is that still offered?
Yes, I think you can still get League Pass, but the problem is, because I had League Pass last year, I wasn't able to watch Pacer games in the market, right? So it was blacked out here. So I believe that's still going to be the case. So you would probably have to do that separately, I would assume, which of course would add some costs there. This is just me on my experience, so I don't know for sure. But yeah, the League Pass is still a thing. You can get it separately.
Makes sense. Well, and I really do enjoy it because, as you well know, I absolutely love the NBA, love watching the NBA, and that's kind of how I feel about that right there. Did you see James how close he got? Did that get on camera how close he?
I don't think so. I don't think I saw it.
Wish I video, but I don't know. In front of me. Idea literally all in front of me. Okay. I mean,
hey, John, I'm going to cut in here. We're having some technical difficulties connecting with you. So you mind if we take a break with you right here and then come back on the other side?
Yeah.
All right, we're going
Let's
to take
do
a
that.
break.
Yeah, they say
We're going to
Yeah.
take a break here, and we'll be right back on the ride with JMV.
The Ride with JMV.
You want to hear our signal? That was our signal.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. Hopefully we're loud and clear here. Colts and Falcons underway officially with their second of two joint practices, of course, coming up on Saturday morning. In fact, we're going to get going with the Colts pregame huddle. We're going to be at Touchdown Town, 10 a.m. We get you started with me and Casey Valier and Bill Brooks. Rick Venturi is going to be a part of that as well, and we'll lead you up to that. Keep in mind the 1 o'clock start, as it should be in the preseason, for preseason game number 2 with the Falcons and the Colts as they're going through joint practices. If you feel like you've missed anything, you've missed Nick Westbrook-Akine about run over the morning show co-host James Boyd right here. That was pretty awesome. And a lot of work being done here in the corner of the end zone. I believe Dave is now you were here throwing to get out of the back. And the news was, it was ask of me and just throughout the but it was at me. This felt being was the lack of severity. What is the duck or in Colts top. And while okay, great news, I don't think anybody there should you ever feel your whole breath on this stuff, because how this ends and how all this how this what was the more see no have their hanging around. So,
All right, we are still having some connection issues with John out at Graham Park. So this is Caleb taking over here. John, we're going to try to work through this and get back at you as soon as we can. We should have Dustin Dopirak joining us here soon. And John, I don't even really know what you were talking about because I could barely hear a word. So we're going to keep working on that. As far as what is going on out at Graham Park, I know I'm in the studio, so we'll have live updates about joint practice and what's going on out there. One thing that we were talking about yesterday that happened while we were live on the air was Tyler Warren's injury. And kind of, we were concerned, and I know John even told me, he's like, hey, we need to get somebody on to talk about this. Had Chris Hagan call in at the end of the show. It looks like that everything is all clear there, and he is going to be out for about a week, but nothing too concerning, which is really, really important for the Colts heading into this year. That was scary because that's the last thing you want, especially with these joint practices. So he's going to be out today, and they did say Keenan Allen is going to do individual drills. So he will not be with the team just yet. So those were the updates yesterday when we weren't at Graham Park. We were at the State Fair yesterday. So those were the updates there. And I know we talked a lot about that yesterday, so be sure to listen back. And then also, once we get John up here, listen again. John, let's try you right here and see if it works. Can we try it?
Let me tell you, do you have me now?
You
Here's what I want you
now.
to do, Caleb, and I'm going to make this call because nobody out there is going to care at all. When and if we disappear, I can't tell for technical reasons. So if we disappear, you take over and just go with it. There's no need to explain. It is okay. I trust you. We trust you. I'm going to make that call. You go with it, and you do whatever it is you want to do. This is how you learn on the fly right here. So
right.
You take it and run with it. We have full confidence in you. So just in case you didn't know that before, it's the reason why we have you there. You know that right now. So if something compromises the broadcast, you go. Meantime, back at Droplight Grand Park, we're in Westfield, where they continue the second of two joint practices with the Falcons and the Colts, and DeForest Buckner a little bit later on. But on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, it is our friend from the Star who covers the Pacers, Dustin DePurak, joining us. Hello, Dustin. How are you?
Good, John. How about yourself, man?
Dustin, fantastic. We'll say this. If all of a sudden I disappear and it's Caleb is going to take over. So don't let that surprise you, just in case. Okay, pal?
Sounds good, man.
All right, let's start with the zone. How has the overall response been from what you've gathered so far from Pacer fans regarding their content-providing announcement of earlier today?
Yeah, I actually asked that question just on Twitter. Just basically, what do you guys think, more or less? That's something, an assignment I got from my boss. And it seems like it's what I would have expected. I think what's interesting is anybody who has been getting the broadcast through FanDuel or through Bally's and using the apps for those companies is happy, because this is an upgrade and it's actually cheaper. Anyone who is actually buying the app will be spending less money than they were spending on that, as I understand it. I can't remember what the subscription prices were for that, but I think if you're getting the early bird price, you're actually paying less money than you were for that. The people that are bothered by this are people that already have subscriptions to some kind of cable or cable-ish service, something like Spectrum or DirecTV or something along those lines. People who are already paying money are a little bit annoyed by this, because they're like, okay, it's one more thing. And I think there's a general feeling of being bothered by this whole thing, because so many people have just feel like they're just awash in subscriptions. They're just constantly being asked to pay something more for something else that they didn't used to have to, and they're remembering days when, hey, this was just part of my cable package. I paid $100 a month or whatever it was, and that's how I got everything. Now, maybe you still kept that cable package, and you have to have all these additional things that you used to just get as part of that. And so I think they just feel like they're paying more for less than they used to get, or paying a lot more for what they used to get. So I think it's positive for the people that were already watching Pacers games through an app of some kind, and they look at the price and say, okay, that's totally doable for me. But the people that have been paying for something like cable and were holding on to it that way are not pleased.
So Dustin DePurak of the Star. DAZN is the content provider for the Pacers now, at least for the foreseeable future. So if you wouldn't mind recapping for everybody that may be a bit in the dark about this announcement earlier today, what does DAZN and the partnership with the Pacers entail? Dollar figure, amount, and then what kind of access to the Pacers and other situations might the Pacer fans have?
Yeah, so I don't know what the dollar figure amount in terms of what the Pacers are getting out of this. It's a 5-year deal. There are opt-outs involved. Basically, the way this came down in the first place, obviously, the company that owned Bally's was called Diamond Sports Group. They went under a Chapter 11 bankruptcy in May of 2023. Main Street Sports kind of formed out of the wreckage of that, and they basically wound down at the end of the basketball season. So they were in a position where they had to pick somebody new, and the NBA basically told all of these teams that were in that position, hey, try to get something where you have an opt-out, basically, because they're looking into the idea of having what Mel Raines referred to as an aggregated solution, just basically that there would be kind of a hub for these regional sports networks run by the league. But what Mel Raines pointed out, she said that the zone is interested in being a partner for that hub. So it's a longer-term agreement, because there is kind of, I guess, on hope on both parts that this will be compatible with whatever the league does after that. So pricing numbers, as far as for fans are concerned, a season pass at regular price is $119.99. But I guess there's an early bird, and I think that's what people are excited about, is if you buy the subscription before October 15th, it's $59.99 for the year. It's also $19.99 per month if you want to go that way. But if you're a season ticket holder, you get a complimentary season pass. And I think there's going to be free trials for everybody who signs up for a subscription. Beyond that, there will be, I think, 22 games that will be broadcast in front of the paywall, so you can watch for free on the zone. They're also looking for a local broadcaster that they're hoping will take 15 of those 22 games that will be able to broadcast live over the air. So they're looking for somebody that would be a local affiliate for one of the networks, basically, for whether it's ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, one of those four. They're going to hope to get a local broadcast partner out of that. So that's the whole rundown for this consumer. But I don't know exactly what the team is getting out of this from what their financial end of it is.
So you mentioned the whole local broadcast entity as a possibility. From what have you heard? What options are out there? We know what Channel 13 does along with the Fever. Is it Channel 13 or might it be somebody else out there that could be that local provider for a handful of games?
Yeah, I mean they wouldn't tell us yet. I mean you would have to think THR would probably be a favorite for that, just because I think it was THR that did maybe was it 6-7 games last year. So you would think just having started that already, that would make them.
It's fine. It just happened. So it's all good.
I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, sorry. I heard Caleb say something. I thought, but yeah, I think that you would think they'd be the leader in the clubhouse for that, just by having done this already. But that, I don't know at this point, and they weren't giving us too much information on that. But still, you would think that. But those would be kind of the options, whether it's Wish or WTHR or one of those options. I'm trying to think of all the other call numbers in my head that I'm not remembering right now, but any of those sort of local broadcast affiliate networks would be the ones that they would be targeting as potential partners there.
Yeah, it's Dustin DePierac of the Star. DAZN and the Pacers are together for your streaming Pacers season coverage here. $59.99 for the early bird. We'll get back to that price in just a second. Is the whole full court or in-season package for the NBA, is that still intact? Is that still an option for Pacer fans out there? 'Cause that's what I've gone with as a part of DirecTV for a number of years.
Right. It's it's an in the market, out of market thing. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be different for DirecTV or anything on those lines. This is for basically it's for sort of in market subscribers. So like if you're out of market, and you're getting League Pass, you're still going to get the Pacers the same way. It'll be part of your League Pass subscription. As I understand that will still operate the same way. And I don't know where kind of all the market lines are specifically in terms of where you get League Pass versus where you get DAZN. I mean, I think that the DAZN listed like a long list of states, including I think Missouri and Iowa, that were considered in market. So I don't know if that takes you. It doesn't seem that it would make sense that if you're in Iowa, you wouldn't be able to watch a Pacers game as part of your League Pass subscription. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, the lines don't seem to go that far for other things. As far as similar packages are concerned. So I would be surprised. I don't know how it will work, particularly in this market. I think that I get MLB TV, and I know Reds games are blacked out on MLB TV. I have to watch those on TV, and Cubs games, White Sox games the same way. So I would think it would probably be similar with the Pacers and maybe the Bulls. But I'm not totally sure about how that's going to shake out.
That's Dustin DePierac right there. DAZN and the Pacers for the foreseeable future. Do we know what type of negotiation went into whittling down this price tag? And then how does that compare to other NBA squads that also are utilizing DAZN for their content provider?
That's a good question. We're still figuring out this is I think the second in what's going to be a DAZN rollout. I mean, out of these 13 teams that were on, I guess, Main Street Sports, among the group that were being represented or partnering with Main Street Sports, the Timberwolves are, I think, the first ones that came down. And I didn't look at their pricing. I had to do that. But I think one thing that they said, we got a briefing with Mel Raines and Joey Graziano on Wednesday that was embargoed to get a better sense of how this was going to shake out. And they were very adamant about saying that they tried to push for the best pricing that they could do given this circumstance. Again, DAZN is only a streaming service, so they're not going to go get a channel, and they're not going to be able to sort of make up for this with rights fees or whatever from TV. This is how they operate. But they tried to push it, as they explained it, to get the best deal that they could for fans that way. I think because they know that there's going to be some level of backlash to even having to pay anything more for this at all. So they tried to whittle that down as much as they could. And again, I think fans that have been getting stuff through streaming see it as a pretty good price. And so they really pushed on that. One thing Mel made a point of saying is that DAZN was the only potential partner, and they said they talked to maybe a dozen, but DAZN was the only one that came into market. And they basically like really made a push. And I think DAZN is making a push for almost all of these properties. And they came in town. Basically they met. They're trying to get an understanding of how the market works. They're not trying to do this just from a distance. And so that was one of the things that they got across basically was that this has to be accessible, and relatively inexpensive, for fans as much as possible.
So, can I share this with my mom in southwestern Indiana? The stream, if I get it, can I do that?
That
sounds really weird for me saying that. My apologies. But yes.
No, I mean, I'm not totally sure how it shakes out. I mean, because I think you can get it on a lot of addresses. I think somebody mentioned this to me that I hadn't seen this, that I think it's 80 for 2 devices or 80 for 2 IP addresses. So you'd be 40 each in that case. But you couldn't just give your $60 subscription away, I guess. And that's so I'm a little bit foggy on those details in terms of, okay, well, what if you do it this way? What if you do it that way? What if you have a this and a that? I was under the impression coming out of there that it was okay if you're subscribing to this thing, it's available. I mean, I know I get a DirecTV subscription and that's available for my laptop, my phone, and my TV, and I don't have to have 3 different numbers for that. And maybe in this one you do. I'm not totally sure. John, I can't hear you.
Yeah, John, I think, John, you cut out there. Dustin, one of the questions that I had was and you brought it up earlier with the Bally deal, how does it compare to those deals? Is it more expensive? Maybe you'd have to look back at the numbers, but do you think this is a better deal than what they've had in the past for fans?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, I mean, I didn't have that number off the top of my head, and everybody that's been telling me about basically their experiences said, that it is cheaper. And I can't remember what Bally had. I can't remember what Vandal had. I mean, so if it's less, it must have been more than 60. I mean, it might have been 80 or 90, somewhere in that range. And so, I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to double check that certainly before I write my story, to make sure I've got that right. But as I understand that it is cheaper. Now, the difference is there, FanDuel and Bally at least appeared on some either cable or cable-ish packages, if you will. I know it was part of my DirecTV streaming package at home. I don't know. I guess they had some issues with Spectrum, and I know they had issues with Hulu and some other of those kind of streaming services being a part of those things, Dish and whatnot. So it really depended on what you got, on kind of what your overall cable or satellite or whatever package it was, whether it was included. But I think if you were going via the app, this app is actually less expensive than that one was.
Can they promise that the streaming issues that were taking place a year ago won't be taking place this season?
They didn't use the term promise, but I'd say DAZN is very proud of itself is the best way that I could put it. It's obviously a very, very different, it's obviously a completely different organization. I think one thing that their guy, they had a representative at this briefing, Xander Berlinski, who said, I think they've got 2,000 somewhat engineers. I mean, and they've got a pretty big overall caseload internationally. I mean, they're a very big global, basically global proprietor here. Much of what they do at this point is still overseas. Like much of their overall bandwidth is either in Europe or Asia or something along those lines. And basically, I think La Liga in Spain and Serie A in Italy are entirely their properties, basically in country. And they also are, I think, one of the biggest distributors for the NFL out of the United States. And so basically they've had to stream a lot of stuff. And, I don't understand the technicalities as much to get, okay, what would make them better at this. But they have a lot of practice, I guess, is the basic point. And they had to broadcast some very, very big events in places where if you mess this up, you're going to pay for it. I mean, if you get Serie A wrong in Italy, that's going to be a pretty big embarrassment to you as a company. Same deal with La Liga, and some of these other big boxing events. And they mentioned domestic baseball in Japan was another big good property they have. If you were screwing this up regularly, and if you were screwing up international broadcasts of NFL games, there would be a price to pay, and it seems like they've done pretty well. So it seems like this is a thing that they understand, a game that they really, really get. So whether that's going to show out, we'll see. But like presumably, it seems like a company that's better equipped. Obviously, both Diamond and Main Street Sports went under pretty fast, and those were seemed to be doomed situations from the beginning. This company's been standing for 10 years on its own prior to taking on these networks, so it seems to have more practice in what it's doing.
Hi, Dustin. What do you think about the whole package? Personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think I absolutely sympathize with anybody who's looking at this and saying, "Oh man, I got to do something else." I mean, because I think we're all like, just as people in the world right now, you're just like, man, like how many, how many like monthly chunks are taken out of my paycheck, just in terms of subscriptions? Because it's like you've got this to get this thing, you have to go, apply for this, and you have to go apply for that, and you have to spend money here, and you have to spend money there, and it's just like, oh man, how many things do I have to sign up with just to get what I used to get? And so that is, I think, bothersome. But I mean, like having heard, from Mel and from the Pacers and from DAZN, it's also like, well, like this is where the world is going. I mean, like there's a reason why these networks went under. There's a reason why these RSNs went under, because there's been so much cord cutting and because just the model hasn't worked. And so when you're dealing with a situation where everybody who tries to do something goes out of business, then you've got to do something else, and you've got to ultimately embrace what's next, because that you're just not going to be able to raise this banner over and over again, and just try to do it the same way. I think a lot of people were hopeful that it was. I wouldn't say people were hopeful, because it's not like the Pacers indicated they were going to be able to do this. But I mean, I think a lot of people would like to go back to a time when you could get a local broadcast channel to just take this on. And as Mel mentioned, it doesn't work that way, and there's not necessarily something in this market. She pointed out that some of the teams have been able to do that with what were basically dead channels. They were able to take this over, and she said they weren't basically able to find something similar in the Indiana market that they could just take over and turn into a Pacers channel. That just wasn't an option where it has been an option someplace else.
That's Dustin DePurak of the Star. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, and I promise you this, my brother, the next time you're on, we're going to be talking about hoop and none of this geeky technology, costly bullcrappy. Okay, buddy?
Sounds good, man. Excellent.
Dustin DePurak there.
Appreciate you,
on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Thank you for the time.
Thanks, guys.
All right, a couple of things here. Did you see me? I'm almost catching stuff out here and everything. I'm invaluable to this operation. Caleb, jump on here really quick.
Yeah, dude, you were flashing out your hands and all that.
Just in case this happens again, I want to reiterate that you take over and you run it, because I trust you, we trust you, and it's twofold. This is how you learn. And I'll give you a quick story before I hit a break. When I was working with Mark Patrick, and Mark Patrick started to do his show from his house, sometimes he'd paint a room or caulk a bathtub or something during the break and forget to come back. Sometimes he would forget to come back, and then I would do it. But that's how you learn, man. Everybody trusts you. So if something goes FUBAR in technology, especially up here, that is completely out of our hands, you take the baton and you run with it, my brother.
Sir.
Okay? Yes, sir. That's Caleb's. I'm John at Drop Light, Grand Park, Speed. Greg Rayshaw's here. He's going to join us top of the hour. DeForest Buckner still to come. Apple still to come. I've got tickets to give away to Kansas, Deep Purple, and thanks to Matt Goins and AAA at AAA.com, Alabama Shakes tickets to give away as well. So you guys sit tight for all that and more. Do not go anywhere. This is 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Hey, John, for Andy Moore, Buick GMC, 131st, State Road 37. That's in Fisher. And it came from Andy Moore. And I want to say, hey, get a recommendation, a Buick Enclave in a variety of styles. The hottest automaker being Buick right now. There you go. Andy Moore, Buick GMC. Get there right now for the great deals and talk to my friend Eric Wilson, 131st, State Road 37 in Fishers. Oh, it's Big Red Liquors. It's the power of the JMV takeover every Saturday night on B105.7 and the power of your weekend. So it's a Thursday. Start thinking, start grinding on the weekend festivities. What do? Where do you go? That is Big Red Liquors. For the greatest in light beers out there right now, Michelob Ultra at great deals. That is the superior light beer, Michelob Ultra. You can find that on sale right now, too. And under the Heaven Hills umbrella, we got a fight going on out here right now. Hey, let me go out there and hand out some Evan Williams to everybody and let those calmer nerves prevail. You're going to get that at great deals across the state of Indiana at Big Red Liquors. Powers the JMV takeover every Saturday night on B105.7. To find that location nearest you and more red hot deals, BigRedLiquors.com. Calm down, fellas. That is Connecticut Water Systems, and get Joe in your place today for that free in-home water test. If you don't have Connecticut, they can transform your water to elite-level water like they did. I live in a rural area, Johnson Morgan line on a well. Can you imagine making my water elite? That would be difficult for your average water providers, but not for Connecticut. The absolute best in the business to do it. Get Joe to your place today with that free in-home test and get started. Sign up online, Connecticut.com.
The Ride with JMV.
JMV sucks.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I just had Deion Burks run right by my chair here after a catch. Well done. Drop light, Westfield, Grand Park. The second of two joint practices with the Falcons and the Colts. In case hopefully you were, you better be listening with the, we got a little skirmish going on again. We had one as I was talking up Big Red Liquors, and cooler has prevailed. We are doing it again right now, too. It's a little Colts O and a little Falcons D. Not happy with one another right now for the second time in the last 5 minutes. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Greg Rakestraw is going to join on the other side. DeForest Buckner, from what Matt told me, probably around 4:30. Mike Chappell around 5-ish. And a lot more for you. Simply put, don't go anywhere. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. Hey, JMV here for Sundown Gardens and Miss M's Home and Garden. Fall is not that far away. Have you realized that? Fresh fall shipments of high-quality nursery stock arriving daily. I just went past Sundown on my way here, just a block or two down the street at 186 here in Westfield, and they are ready to rock for the fall. Certainly, mums arriving weekly. Large selection of everything you need to plant for the fall. That is going on right now. So get that jump on the fall season and stop by Sundown Gardens. As I mentioned, right here in Westfield, 186 and Spring Mill Road. Miss M's Home and Garden, State Road 135 in Bargersville, just south of Whiteland Road.
The Ride with JMV.
What is your favorite drink?
Scotch and soda.
Some people,
and
when you...
beer, a margarita, a martini. I'll drink anything.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome.
Back at Drop Like Graham Park, we'll reconnect with John in a second as we continue to have some issues. He's sitting with Greg Rakestraw right now, and I kind of want to see some of the reports here, and maybe John can give us a firsthand testament to this, but there were a few scrappy fights going on out at joint practice. So I'm excited when we reconnect with John to kind of see what was going on and what the sideshow was out there. A lot of fun, and it is a little disappointing that this is the last time that Colts will be at Drop Like Graham Park. And John, let's try again here. I think I got you in my headphones.
I'm here in Graham Park.
And I don't. That was my mistake. It looks like it's still working. Hey, I tried. Hey, and it's par for the course for this week. Obviously, the interview yesterday that will go down in infamy that we'll be talking about for a long time. So we'll get this back here. One thing, and maybe this is not related to the Pacers TV thing, but I know we've talked about it on this show, and I wanted to get into it, was Tyrese Halliburton earlier saying, hey, look, any player of my caliber would have a debut that isn't in New Orleans. It'd be on national TV. It would be a big returning moment. And I somewhat agree with that, but I would, and when we get John back here, I want to know his thoughts on this. I actually would spin it, and I think it might be nice to have a debut that is a little low pressure. Like, there's not a lot of eyeballs watching. He can come back at his own pace and re-enter this thing at his own speed. I think that is going to be something that I am definitely going to be interested in seeing. I get, in Indianapolis is used to it, I think, sometimes not getting talked about as much as a big market team. But I think that is one thing for me when we talk about this Pacers schedule, where we're going to be, because we're going to be watching on DAZN night one of the season. I think for me, that is going to be what I'm interested to see. John, can you give me a thumbs up in the Zoom if we should try you right now? Okay, let's do it. John?
Always try me right here, brother. I just don't know how to the other end right here. Greg Rakestraw is with me. I want to get back to that question regarding Tyrese Halliburton starting on the road in New Orleans in a second, but I want to work Greg in here. Obviously, preseason game number 2 on Saturday. What have you witnessed in this second of 2 joint practices with the Falcons today, Greg?
A little more spicy than it was yesterday. It was very congenial yesterday. Today you had a couple of dust-ups here in this end zone with the Colts offense primarily working on this end of the field. I was watching on the other end when it was the Colts defense a few minutes ago, and Jalen Tuimoloau with a bit of a two-handed shove in the chest of one of the reserve offensive linemen for Atlanta. So not surprisingly, in day number 2, we're getting a little bit more.
And sometimes not a bad.
It was a step too far. Anderson German suplex in the Saints Cowboys days ago.
Yeah.
That's right out.
Yeah.
What we're having here.
All right, once again, still some issues out there. And again, John, I'm looking at you in the YouTube stream, so please just give me a thumbs up when we should try it again. Yeah, so good to see everybody out there at Graham Park. And I know for me, this is going to be interesting to see what they do when they move it to West 56th. and just how they, and this is maybe is the theme of the day, I would say, with how the Pacers TV deal is announced and how it affects fans. I would say with this last practice out at Graham Park, interesting to see how it affects fans going forward. I've made for a long time have gone down there for the last couple years, and it's just a fun family atmosphere to be around. So definitely hoping that when they move to West 56 that it's something that everybody can enjoy. All right, John, I gave it a second. Let's do it one more time.
Here, yeah, we're both still. See here, we hear, but just and then take over, which is what you're supposed to do. All right, Den, thumbs up, thumbs down. Yesterday, today.
Thumbs up, just thumbs up the entire training camp. The day he probably were out, not the FA, that Alec Pierce, you're not going to see now 11 on a day this week. Get ready for the line. I doubt if we'll see him in that game unless he won't play out. Yeah, of any All
right, one last time. Hopefully after this, let's hopefully get this fixed. But yeah, Greg was talking there about Alec Pierce and what we're going to see and if we're going to see him. You're starting to get into that period right now where you're not sure if people are going to be ready for week one. And so I think it starts to get really nerve-wracking now if you're the Colts. And Shane Steichen, I know, provided an update yesterday where he was talking about how Alec was doing some more individual work and he practiced indoors yesterday with some trainers. So that's good news. And I think the question remains to be seen, and we talked about it on this show, if the Keenan Allen signing was a direct response to the starting to worry of if Alec Pierce is going to be able to go week one. I don't know, because I think we had talked about this for a while leading up to the news of the Alec Pierce injury and the conversation of, oh my gosh, he may not be back for week one. I think we all kind of assumed that Keenan Allen was going to be in the fold here. So I don't know if it's directly a response to that, but it's definitely going to help. And I also think one thing, and hopefully when we get the guys back here, we can talk. You guys can talk about this too. Is Shane Steichen did kind of say, hey, as far as the snap count for Keenan, it's not going to be something where he's an every down receiver, which I think actually kind of goes with the theme of him coming into the fold here late and kind of wanting to save his body for camp and not, be all out there. And I think he's going to be on that kind of pitch count. He's going to be on that kind of, maybe you come in on first and third down. So interested to see that. Guys, let's try you one more time here. I got you in my headphones.
Hey, Greg, we were talking about this when we went off here a moment ago, too. At wide receiver, they bring in Keenan Allen. He officially signed, and he's going to get worked into the mix. But a guy like Nick Westbrook-Akine actually caught one right in front of me and James Boyd a little bit earlier. He's been having a good camp.
I don't think that's going to affect Nick's status on the team. I kind of thought that it would be maybe as little as 4 receivers that made the roster. I think now with Keenan Allen, it is going to be 5 that will make the roster. You could probably make an argument that Coleman Owen becomes the 6th, especially as Anthony Gould has been dealing with an injury. I think Nick Westbrook-Akine is safe.
Yeah.
I think maybe a couple of guys that would be most impacted by Keenan Allen. Laquan Treadwell may have been a guy that was an active roster guy. Now probably try to bring him back on a practice squad deal as they have the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Eli Pancol got a lot of reps to get out of Pendleton Heights and Duke. Now maybe he's a practice squad guy, maybe even not. And Deion Burks, and again, yes, he was a draft pick. It's one of the last guys.
All right. Yep. One more time. That might have been, if you're listening on the YouTube stream, that might have been, or the radio, that might have been the worst disconnect we've had so far. So sorry about that as we continue to troubleshoot out here. Yeah. So the wide receiver position continues to be the question here for the Colts. And now that this is kind of shored up and there is a 1, 2, 3 on the depth chart, I for one am curious where else this team needs to find improvement. I would say linebacker is definitely a position that we're looking at, especially with the rookies that are playing. So I know I think it's too late now to sign anybody, but when that roster gets trimmed down to 53, I think that is kind of where we're going to see if where this team's depth is at. So I think one thing that I was reminded of yesterday with Falcons joint practice was Justin Wally. He had a pick six yesterday in practice. I think we are kind of forgetting too that he was having a great camp last year. And so if I had to pick one player that I am excited to see this year, it's probably Justin Wally, and it's probably how he lines up in the slot along with Charvarius Ward, along with Sauce Gardner. So I think for me, those are the biggest things. John, here, let's do it one more time. We're going to keep doing this, I assume. Yes, no?
No, I'm here. I'm good to go.
Gotcha.
I always sound good to go. Greg sounds good to go, too. We just we don't know what happens.
Maybe time to reinvest in some 1980s Marty technology.
Oh, my goodness.
From the remote standpoint.
How about that? And then have the frying pan
because
sound going
because
on in
as
the
one of the Atlanta Falcons beat reporters pointed out yesterday,
yeah,
you could kind of hear like an ambulance coming. He's like, was there like some sort of accident in the corn? Because we are,
right.
The suburbs are that way. The corn is right behind us, so maybe not the best cell phone coverage here on the northwest corner of the drop light. Thank you for saying that, Grand Park Sports Campus.
And I do remember the days with the old Marty sounds of the 80s and the 90s where it would sound like somebody's frying bacon in the background of it. But you didn't disconnect. It was still there, right?
We did live in, NASA-level C-band satellite technology.
Yeah,
when we were growing up, yeah.
Hey, one of the reasons why I brought you over here, too, because high school week number 1 starts coming up tomorrow night, too. We talked about your game back on Tuesday with LN and Brownsburg, but it is an absolute Friday night that is packed full of great opening night matchups.
Warren Center Grove, and again, that being a conference matchup for the first time in 5 years. Cathedral Ben Davis, Cathedral, clearly it's those guys in New Pal in terms of 5A. Ben Davis is probably a little bit down this year, but still will give Cathedral a great test, and unfortunately one of the only handful of games that Cathedral gets to play against a team from Indiana. And then Carmel Fisher should be a great game. And of all of the best teams in the state of Indiana from a 6A standpoint, Carmel is the one that has to replace their quarterback, with Anthony Kellner graduating as the school's all-time leading passer last year. But they absolutely walloped Zionsville in their scrimmage. Now, I don't think Zionsville is going to be one of the better teams this year, but still, that's a 6A foe. You beat them 42-0. So, and it's Kevin Wright at Carmel. They're going to figure some things out. So, it's amazing to think that week 1 from a scheduling standpoint may be as good as any week that we have in high school football this year. And clearly, it's a fantastic week.
And what's the common theme among coaches and ADs around the state? Starting off playing teams that are good? I mean, obviously you're still getting into gear, or waiting until the midseason, tail end of the season when you believe your team hopefully is playing at its best. What's the conventional wisdom here?
It's a mix. First of all, you can go out and play the best schedule you possibly can because everybody gets in.
Yeah.
So you're really not concerned about your record. Secondarily, if you're in a league that is a great league, maybe you're not as worried about the level of competition that you play. Let's say you're in an 8-team league. You're going to play your conference games 3 through 9. Maybe you're not as worried about who you're playing, say, weeks 1 and 2. But if you're in a lesser league, or especially in 6A, if you're from outside of the Indianapolis area, you're trying to find as many Indy area schools as you can in week 1 and week 2. For example, Dwenger plays Roncalli this week. Next week, Crown Point plays host to Pike to, again, give them some semblance of that Indianapolis area speed and athleticism. And frankly, some schools, if your rival school isn't in your league, you're going to play them in week 1 or week 2 to make sure you get that rivalry game. And frankly, you get that big gate. And so, John, it's a myriad of factors that go into it from a scheduling standpoint. But again, most teams don't dodge other teams knowing you could be like the old modern-day teams. You be 0-8 and go into state.
Yeah.
You can do that in Indiana.
And it's funny, too. I would seem like once you get into something that has worked for you, you don't often go away from what works for you. So if that's how it works for you, then you keep designing your schedule on how it works and the results for your team.
Oftentimes I would say this, week 1 and week 2, if you're in a conference, are often maybe about the best gate you can find.
Yeah.
Unless you feel that game is putting you at a competitive disadvantage, then you go out and you find somebody that's either better or, if you're not good, more of your level to get a win going into league play.
So Greg Rakestraw with us again, Drop Light, Grand Park, Westfield for a final time, which with the results of the first couple of hours, I'm not going to be that sad about it now. Let me tell you that. But
how many? Let me ask you this, because I did the math on this yesterday.
Yeah.
I think this is my 23rd training camp that I've been a part of.
Right.
So I had a 3-year stretch where I didn't have to worry about being at training camp 09, 10, and 11. Then I, picked up, this is my 15th year with the radio network, started coming back to camp in 2012. Any idea how many training camps you now have been a part of in said job that we have?
26?
Yeah.
Yeah.
26 consecutive,
That's what I thought,
right?
Yeah. 26. I was trying to think back of the most interesting, and they're all kind of moments. I remember at Rose Holman going over there, kind of doing it myself at a different place.
Uh-huh. You and I would be both doing shows on the balcony of the
exactly.
of the gymnasium overlooking the track and field.
Exactly. Or going to Anderson. And once upon a time at Anderson, I had Bruce Arians on, the offensive coordinator.
Which is one of the easiest interviews of all time.
And, well, he sat down and he was waiting for us to come out of break. And Tony was back working the board and got mad at me for something and started cussing at me. And Arians heard it and goes, "Man, he's blinking mad at you, isn't he?" Like that. Just dropped a similar F-bomb as Tony did.
If you've been around Bruce, you know the universal adjective is very common.
It was just kind of funny at that moment when he was like privy to what was being said. And
I'm just happy that Caleb has interrupted us in like 4 minutes.
No, it's all good.
Apparently, are you familiar with the movie Down Periscope?
I've heard of it, but I don't know if I've seen it.
So basically, to have a ship-to-shore transmission,
I do know that, yeah.
Exactly. He would basically have like this volt of electricity going through to make sure we could translate. That might be what's happening right now behind the scenes.
It is all magic.
Yeah, it's all
the engineers.
It could be the swamp mud we're dealing with over here too.
It is all over. It's all over the map. But the one thing I've realized in doing this, and this is a part of, it being, ironically enough, National Radio Day.
Hey.
That you just got to go with the flow, man. That's what happens when you're live and doing stuff, man. It's not always perfect, but it's how you respond.
The part of the show where you say, whatever happens, my toes are still tapping?
I'm telling you, I did the same thing on Saturday night. If I blank something up, we're just going to move on and play for the next play. We're kind of like a defensive back out here on the field right now. You just kind of move on and play for that next play. Hey, anything that you will be looking for, you and Rick, coming up on Saturday afternoon in preseason game number 2 after this get-together today?
Because, frankly, the guys that are going to play this week are pretty much the guys that are going to play last week. You want to see the guys that played well, to use the NFL parlance, stack days. The difference is going to be, obviously, Riley Leonard gets the first half, Anthony Richardson gets the second half, which means that Riley kind of gets the 2s and Anthony gets, maybe the 3s and 4s. And so the quarterback conversation always is in the preseason going to be the dominant conversation. But the other overarching theme, John, was how good most of the rookie draft picks looked and how they all looked that they belonged. And so seeing how they do. We've seen C.J. Allen in practice this week, which tells me we might see a lot of him just because he's kind of behind the 8 ball in terms of reps with a couple of different injuries, during the course of training camp. So, he's the guy maybe that we see this week that we didn't see last week. Can Caden Curry be an impact player the way he was last week, playing a half and leading the team in tackles with 6? Heck, Johnny got a couple of reps when they went to a 5-man defense with the 1s earlier practice day, which is wonderful to see. So,
here's what I thought. You saw him so much going through high school. And what you saw in high school, what we saw at Ohio State after he waited around and waited his chance, and what we saw in that first preseason game, that's Caden Curry.
Yep.
So it's just different steps, different levels, different layers, but it's still the same player looking the same at those levels.
He was one of the biggest guys in high school and was still one of the best athletes in high school. In college, he kind of looked like everybody else. Now there are times, to be honest with you, at the line of scrimmage, he kind of looks small. And so I do think that if the Colts are going to play a lot of five-man fronts this year, which I think on rundowns that's what they're going to do, I think that's kind of a perfect role for him because he's somewhat built like a pass rush specific guy. Frankly, he carries more pounds than, say, a Latu than a George Gums. He's kind of built like his teammate at Ohio State and Jalen Tuimoloau, but he's probably too small to be a defensive tackle. I'm not sure if he's quick enough to be a linebacker. He's simply a playmaker. And going to that five-man front may be a way to get him on the field more often. I also think, John, he's going to be a guy that could be an impact player on special teams too.
So he got run with the one. How did he look with the ones from what you witnessed?
Looked like he belonged now again, let's face it, all right? You're not hitting the quarterback the way you were allowed to last Thursday, 7 days ago. And so we didn't really see, if he was able to kind of get home. But just the fact that he kind of was playing with the threes last week and he got a couple of snaps with the ones today, it just tells you, hey, the Colts defensive coaches are kind of seeing the same thing the rest of us saw last Thursday is, hey, this guy looked the part.
Greg Rakestraw's got you coming up tomorrow, LN in Brownsburg, and he's got you on Saturday.
I think the Colts had an interception, brother. I'm sorry to interrupt your ramp up.
Go ahead and give it a call right there. Do you see who
I
it
would
was?
not be because
between that mass of humanity.
There's
on the
3,000-foot dude between me and that. So I wasn't a good color analyst. I didn't shut up and let the play-by-play guy take it. I'm sorry.
All right, well that's okay. Well, let's take a break and we'll come back. So LN and Brownsburg for you tomorrow night. Then the Colts preseason game coming up on Saturday, correct?
That is correct. And then it's the Indy 11 game on Saturday night. And then it's calling the JMV takeover after hopefully an Indy 11 win at about 9:35.
You got it. Thank you for hanging in with us, my pal.
Caleb,
appreciate you.
Keep your sanity back there. Don't lose any more hair.
Happens all the time, man. Well done. Quick break. We'll come back. And DeForest Buckner at some point when practice is complete. Well, hang tight for that. Mike Chappell coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. And Devin, the on-site engineer, give Devin some credit because he has been working frantically on things here, much like Caleb has back there. So I want to thank these guys very much for all the fun and enthusiasm. What's that? We had to sacrifice the stream for the show. Sorry about that. Quick break. We'll come back. Again, DeForest Buckner, bottom of the hour, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. Hey, Johnny. Oh, false start by the left tackle right there. JMV for Connecticut Water. Connecticut.com. Connecticut Water Systems in your home today. Yeah, making sure that you get the absolute best in water in your home. Get Joe in there for that test and do that right now. That's Connecticut.com today.
The Ride with JMV.
These are my new shoes from Converse. They're so light and so fast, my grandmama can whoop you in them.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back to Drop Light. We're in Westfield, and it is over. The second of two practices with the Falcons and the Colts. Preseason game 2 is coming up on Saturday. If you're watching on the stream right now, he can wave at you, and his ride's right behind him right here. DeForest Buckner of the Colts is with us. How you doing, man?
Doing well. Appreciate you guys for
You
having me.
look like you feel – I know you just had practice, and you're tired as hell, but you look like you feel good.
Yeah, I do.
You look like you're in good – not shape. You're always in good shape,
Yes,
but
sir.
you're like everything's.
Oh, yeah. I'm feeling really good. Being able to – especially these past two practices, is the most reps I've got, all camp and everything. We've been ramping up to it, and, I've been feeling really good, getting back in the mix of things, and it's just fun to be back out there with the guys.
How dark were those times when you really didn't know if you were going to be able to do this again?
Yeah, I know. It was. I definitely got to a pretty dark place. But I was very lucky to have people in my corner, like my wife, to kind of, help drag me out of that hole a little bit. You know what I mean? It's especially the first month after surgery. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not being able to do anything, just pretty much being on bed rest for most of the part. It was a struggle for sure early on, but. Having somebody like my wife and a lot of other loved ones around me, and obviously, having my kids around and a lot of prayer. I mean, it helped me get through those times, and I'm just blessed to be here today.
Was there a signature moment when you knew, you know what, I am coming back?
It was really, I had a great conversation with my wife. I mean, she just, she really just made me realize, she was like, you know what, you never quit anything in your entire life, and you're not going to start now. She was just like, we're going to take it one day at a time, recovery, rehab, and just take it one day at a time. And you know what? That's what I did, and that's what really helped me.
Well, there are so many things that I think psychologically can work against you because you've done all this, you've accomplished all this, you feel set, and you got a family, spend more time with them.
Yeah.
But ultimately, man, it's that juice of competition that has to pull you back in.
For sure, 100%. And I'm very happy, it's that I made it through that time because, being out here, being back on the field, competing, is no other place like it.
All right, DeForest Buckner is with us. What do you think about the way the defense is coming together so
far?
far?
I mean, I feel like, we put together a solid couple days. I mean, obviously there's things we can still clean up, still a bunch of time before the season starts, but I like what I'm seeing so far. We just got to, some minor things we got to clean up and little things like that, but continue to communicate. Especially with all the different faces in there in the mix, and I feel like we can be something special.
So your teammates, especially those coming off the edge, like Leatu Latu, what have you seen from him from your angle where you've seen improvement and maybe a little bit of an upgrade in results coming off the edge and more of a consistent pass rush this season?
Yeah, I would say the confidence, you know what I mean, in his rushing abilities. Each and every day he just got to continue to, build that confidence and build off of what he did last year, and I feel like he'll be able to be set up for a great year.
So I know him very well because he's from here, Caden Curry. I don't know how well you know him, obviously a teammate now.
Yeah.
What have you seen from the rookie from Ohio State so far?
No, I mean, he's like a Swiss Army knife, you know what I mean? You can put him wherever, whatever you need, he'll do, you know what I'm saying? He can be inside, outside, and he has that natural pass rush ability. If he goes from one move to another, he's really good at what he does. With his craft, and you can tell he's been working on it. Rushing inside and outside to have that ability, and he's a technician, so it's been fun to watch him.
So knowing you have at the back end, whether it's Mooney or Sauce Gardner or whomever, how nice is that to know that you have this incredible playmaking ability in the back end of this defense?
No, yeah, it definitely brings a lot of confidence to the front. You know what I mean? And we know we can get there. With having guys like Mooney and Sauce and Wally and Cam back there. All those guys back there. I mean, it's definitely some confidence. Knowing you have a little time to rush.
Is Bynum the one? He's figuring everything out for you on defense, making calls and such, right?
Yeah.
So how different is that for you? Because I know the guy that used to do that is now in Green Bay. How is that for you, him taking over?
No, yeah. I mean, I feel like it's been good. Cam's been doing a really good job taking over that spot, while owning it and everything, and getting the calls, relate to everybody, and I feel like it's been good so far.
Yeah, it's DeForest Buckner is with us. What does this rank as far as this defense and this group compared to defenses you've been a part of either here or in Frisco in the past?
No, yeah, I mean it's up there. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's one of the top defenses, especially on paper. You know what I mean? But on paper doesn't mean anything until you go out there. You know what I'm saying? And prove it. So we're definitely up there. On the defenses that I've been on in the past, and we just got to go out there and prove it.
Lou Anarumo and what he asked for you. What is on the top of that list? What he asked for you. What is your job description on top of the list each and every week, each and every game?
For me personally?
Yeah.
Dominating my one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you allow other people to take advantage then when you do that too. So that's job number one. Now that's a difficult gig.
Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah. I mean, it's what's required from me, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
All right, so you had a summertime where you're rehabbing a neck and your back. Did you do anything that was fun at all? Besides just get back to it?
Yeah. Took my kids to Disneyland.
Well, heck yeah. That's a heck of a time right there.
Did a bunch of golfing, you know what I mean?
Now, do you get back to Hawaii very often?
Yeah, I try to every year when I can, to take my family out there. This year during the summer, we wasn't really able to, get out there just because we had so much going on, with the kids and everything throughout the summer. So I'm hoping to get out there. How much of
your family is still in Hawaii?
Oh, pretty much all of them. All of my mom's side.
That where you see yourself one of these days getting back there?
Yeah, visiting a lot. Yeah,
visiting a lot.
Yeah.
But it seems like a hell of a place to grow up.
Yeah,
honestly,
definitely.
right there. All right, I got to ask you this: the Oregon Ducks out of the Big Ten, I believe preseason ranked second. Had a little difficulty with the Indiana Hoosiers, the defending national champions, a couple of times a year ago in Eugene and in the Peach Bowl.
That was tough to watch.
What about the Ducks and the season coming up here? You feel it?
I'm feeling. I feel it every year. I'm optimistic every year. So you know what I mean. I got a couple. I got a couple guys on my side.
I know.
Out here. I'm not the lone duck anymore out here. So you know what I mean. We're gonna be repping loud and proud.
When you were in Eugene, what if I would have told you that a handful of years down the road, the Indiana Hoosiers are going to win the national title? What would you have told me?
I would have laughed. I'm not gonna lie.
Can you believe that?
When I was back in school, yeah.
It is.
It's awesome though to see that the way that program was turned around and everything, and it's been fun to watch.
How would have you been in the NIL era as a collegiate player? Have you ever thought about that? Had the NIL era been a part of your era, how would that been for you? Or the transfer portal? Would you have stayed, or would you have bounced around that?
I mean, I think I would have stayed. To be honest, I mean that's just kind of who I am. And how I am,
so, I mean, you get one place and you stay, and I kind of wonder. That's tested nowadays.
No, definitely.
Major.
Yeah, it's definitely tested for sure. I mean, I couldn't imagine having the portal and the NIL back in my day.
To me, there is something to say about legacy, though.
Yeah, for sure.
And so many of these guys end up losing their legacy.
That's been one of our main points in talking about that whole deal. I mean, where do they go back to, when they want to go back and visit, as alum?
Yeah.
Like, what school do you go to? If you've been to 3 different schools, you know what I'm saying? Like, what school's going to claim you as? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's hard.
No, I go back to college in the 90s, and it's like stratospherically different, but you imagine how different it is even for you going back not as far as I go right now. It's completely different from when you were there.
Mm-hmm.
But I would agree with you on that. I just don't know if a lot of people would be on the same page monetarily over legacy.
Mm-hmm.
But we see that on the high school level all the time, too. It just seems like a legacy is becoming less important.
Mm-hmm.
But for guys like us, I think it's understandable right there. What can this team do this season, DeForest?
I mean, I think we can – honestly, we can definitely how do I put it? Exceed expectations.
Yes. Do you read the expectations or look or watch what people view you as record-wise this year? You get motivated by that, or are you too veteran?
No, I definitely get motivated by it. You know what I mean? I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't see it. You know what I'm saying? And with the guys that we have on this team and the trust that we have in one another, the belief we have in one another, I mean, I that's how I feel.
Is there something that we don't know about this group that you see, because you've been around this game long enough, as a teammate about this group that maybe we don't see from the outside looking in?
No, I just feel like everybody's hungry. You know what I mean? Just hungry to get out there and win. I mean, just the way we started last year, obviously, and the role we were on, and then obviously the way it ended. I mean, is a bad taste in our mouth, and I just feel like the guys are hungry this year.
The words of your owner, Carly Ursay-Gordon, saying this is a must-have, must-win type of season. That resonate to you as well?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. It's hungry is a good way to put it, though, because it has been a while.
Yeah.
Hey, congratulations on being back.
Yeah,
Getting
thank
back
you.
from that dark spot.
Appreciate that.
One of the bright spots always right here is this guy. Go ahead and wave to the folks out there watching it. DeForest Buckner of the Colts joining us here. Live at Drop Live. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Stay healthy,
Appreciate
pal.
it.
We
Appreciate
appreciate you. That is DeForest Buckner. Thank you very much for joining me. And we'll see you again soon, pal. Thank you. DeForest Buckner right there. Mike Chappell's going to join us. You want to go early today, do you? I'll tell you what, let's take a break. We'll get Mike coming up on the other side as well. Caleb, we can do that. Drop Light, Westfield, Grand Park is our location. DeForest Buckner will put that on a podcast at 1075thefan.com. We'll come back with Mike Chappell coming up on the other side. This is 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Hey, John, for the District Tap, you got two locations downtown. I know you're starting, what, back-to-back-to-back? Garth Brooks downtown? Yeah, post up District Tap, pregame, or in this case, pre-show and post-show as well. Happy hour specials, you've got damn good food and a great deal of entertainment, a block from the field house, and if you want to stay out of the downtown, Clearwater Crossing's got you covered as well. The District Tap location at Clearwater Crossing on the north side. Live music, event space, catering, and more. You can find it all. Check it out online, thedistricttab.com.
The Ride with JMV.
If somebody gets in your face and calls you a I want you to be nice.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
DeForest Buckner, the podcast at 1075thefan.com. Back at Drop Line, Westfield, the final gathering here at Westfield's Grand Park. And the final of two back-to-back practices with the Falcons. Preseason game 2 is coming up on Saturday, 10 a.m. The Colts pregame huddle will start in Touchdown Town with you. Again, that is coming up on Saturday morning. DeForest Buckner a little bit earlier. Greg Rakestraw was here as well. Dustin DePurak regarding DAZN being the now content provider of Pacer games this season. We'll get more of your thoughts on that as we move forward. But Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 joins us. You watched the Pacers. What'd you think about that package of DAZN as the provider of the Pacers? The cost and hopefully the effectiveness of getting that presentation to us.
Well, once I get home and they start showing games, and if I can't get it on AT&T, then maybe I have different opinion. I've not had problems getting Pacer games. So,
nor have I, but it sounds like this is just going to be on DAZN itself.
Anything that's easier for fans to get involved instead of trimming fans off viewership, I'm all for.
Yeah. Well, it has to be. I mention this all the time. We are in a club because so many people are doing things right now that you have to be easy and accessible.
Right.
And it's got to be an all-inclusive club.
People will go somewhere else.
You're going to lose folks.
People will go. There's too much else to do. So, that's where it's crazy to me. I kept thinking that the NFL would reach saturation, but they haven't.
Right.
And now they're talking about going global, and it'll work because it always works. But I always hate it when I see games NFL go to streaming because it does trim down some of the viewership, but. Whatever helps fans watch games, I'm 100% for.
All right, so what did we witness out there? A couple of skirmishes. I saw dust-ups, if you will, in this practice, but what did you see on the sideline today?
I saw good stuff from the offense, from the defense. The running game's still not there, but you can't tell the run game in joint practice. You can't tell the run game in preseason games because you're not playing JT. You're not playing the starting line very often or very much. But Daniel Jones looks good. The defense looks good. So I like what I see. What I like most about today, it's the last day in Westfield. And that's not a knock on Westfield. It's a beautiful place, but I'm from the south side. And
you're sick and tired of coming up here, is that what you're saying?
Well, and when we get down here, I've got to hit the rush hour going home. So it's just logistics. But there is no better place to have training camp than Grand Park. They got facilities. If it rains, you go indoors. The fans can see it. This is probably whatever they draw, 3,000 or 4,000 people. I don't know, but I bet 90% of these people don't go to games because they can't afford it. So that's what the value. Jim Irsay always saw this, and I understand why they're going back home. I understand that, but the fans will lose to some degree. They'll have a couple of practices next year at Lucas Oil for the fans. It won't be the same. But, things change, and if you don't adapt, then, they move on without you.
So coming up on Saturday, you're going to have Richardson in the second half and Riley Leonard in the first half. How is that switch? Obviously, Richardson may end up having the similar results as Riley Leonard had in Foxborough last Thursday.
Which weren't good.
Weren't good whatsoever. But what's the look-see that you expect coming up on Saturday in that preseason game, too?
The same as with Richardson last week. How does Riley Leonard handle the offense, pre-snap, execute the play as much as he can? He'll have a better chance. Last week he was running for his life. And if that's the case this week, AR is going to run for 100 yards in the second half. But you just want to see execution. Starters are not going to play. Jalen Travis might play a series because he's still new to the position, but it'll be Riley with the number 2 guys, which also means the number 2 receivers and all that stuff. But probably Atlanta does the same thing, so it's going to be even on even. This will be his chance. Whether or not there is a decision to make with backup, I don't know. I would hope they come out of this game knowing that this guy is the number 2 to Jones. I just think at some point and I think they should be there. You need to know this is your guy, and then maybe that last preseason game, which Jones is not going to play, then your number 3 quarterback plays a lot, and the 4th guy plays. So I want to see him go out there and act like he knows what he's doing, which he will because he does. And then you just don't want to get anybody hurt.
Somebody asked me this morning what I thought about Tyler Warren, and you had the report as well that the Tyler Warren groin or abductor injury was slight in nature right here. And I just tell folks, we've learned enough now to know don't hold your breath, right? Even after that, and nobody's suggesting you're inaccurate or anybody else is inaccurate, but with injuries with this team,
I get what you mean.
Most of the time it is normally worse. I'm not going to suggest it is this time.
I think this one is minor.
Hopefully.
He would not have stayed out there yesterday after an injury. If it was a serious injury, they'd had him inside. He didn't miss any, eye time. He was out here. So I think this is a minor one. And with him, you're going to take it very, very cautious. He wouldn't play this weekend. He wouldn't play in the final game in 10 days, whatever it is. So they've had, knock on wood, a very uneventful camp as far as injuries. I'm really, really – my red flags are up with Mooney Ward. They just are with the back, and he's missed extensive time. The defense will be different with him and without him. But Tyler Warren, I've seen enough. I've seen enough, and most of the time in camp, the guys that have been open, it's been Tyler Warren and Josh Downs. And bringing in Keenan Allen, it eases my mind a whole lot on the offense.
I would agree with you on that, and hopefully you can stay after 5 because we'll get a little bit more in regarding Keenan Allen. But you did reference that before we even get to Charvarius Ward and his situation, and I would agree with you on that. Tyler Warren, we saw him as a rookie. He was utilized in a variety of ways. Do they upgrade that even more so this year, even more plays that are outside what is the norm of the tight end position?
I don't know what else they can do. He didn't throw the ball. Did he throw a pass? I don't know if he did or not. But I don't know what else he can do. He can do it more. I thought the fact that they didn't really hold back on formations and what they he let him in. He let him in targets. I think it was the first time that they had a tight end lead him in targets. I think his role will expand in volume. I'm not sure what they can do more. Moved him around, and again, we'll get to it, but Keenan Allen, in my mind, changes everything. It puts him back to 2025 when Pitt was here, and now everybody sort of settles into that role that they were used to. So, but Tyler Warren, he's just so valuable because he does he can block, not a great blocker, good blocker, but he creates such awful matchup problems for a defense.
What do you count on from Warren as far as production? What is necessary from him in productivity for this offense to be certainly in the neighborhood of what we experienced about the first 8 weeks of the season a year ago?
85, 90 catches. Targets, he had 112 last year. I don't know, 120. Because, again, they're going to run 11 or 1,200 plays. Well, a third are going to go to JT in the run game. He's going to have 320 carries, barring injury. And then when you start doing the math with other quality receivers, Pierce is going to get more. Downs is going to get more because Pitt's gone. Well, now you got Keenan Allen, who's going to get a good chunk of what Pitt missed. So, but I think it's just by the function of the offense and the way Steichen likes to use tight ends, he still might be your most active receiver.
Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. Let's take a break for the top of the hour. We'll come back here. Drop Light, Grand Park. We're in Westfield for a final time with the Falcons and the Colts a little bit earlier. More on what we've witnessed and more on what to expect in the latter portions of the preseason leading up to week number 1 against the Ravens. We'll come back with Mike after this, and I'll give you a chance to win some tickets coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. Well, so sit tight for that. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Oh, it is absolutely the best at making sure you are cool and comfortable. That is Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com today. Where do you begin with Love Heating and Air? Well, the absolute best at making sure that your system's working the way that it should. Nothing's compromised this time of year by calling 317-353-2141. Love Heating and Air, Ohio dealer, will send out somebody like Ron, an elite-level technician, to make sure you're working efficiently. And if you need a repair, you mention Ron or Kendra at Love Heating and Air, Ohio dealer, that I sent you. You're going to get $144 off the service fee for any repair with Love Heating and Air. 317-353-2141 online, love-hvac.com today. I was there yesterday. That's Premier Weight Loss, the North Meridian location, and I was with both Samantha and Lauren. It was a monthly checkup to make sure that I'm still doing what I need to do and stay goal-oriented, which is maintaining right now at $175 and now down 81 pounds from where I started thanks to Premier Weight Loss and GLP-1 injections. It is weekly, but it's more than that. If you do the work alongside, you will see even better results. And like me, you could even surprise yourself. And then you go to a different phase on toning, getting more strength, maybe getting a little bit more defined body shaping. It all can happen thanks to Samantha, Lauren, and Thomas at Premier Weight Loss. PWLND.com, and you can ask them about their cosmetic treatments, including electric toning. Got that. You got Botox, you got skin tightening, and more. Goal-oriented, just in time for the late summer and the early fall, with the great deals here as we end the month of August at Premier Weight Loss. Tell them I sent you today. That's PWLND.com.
The Ride with JMV.
We'll be in a professional arena. We'll be in front of a lot of people.
And now sports. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Dev is the on-site engineer. Caleb has done a great job. Actually, both have done a great job, and thanks for the scrambling folks down off of St. Joe's for getting things done. Busy day so far. DeForest Buckner on the show, Greg Rakestraw, and Dustin DePurak. DAZN is the content provider of the Pacers for this season and upcoming years. And what was it again, Caleb? $59.99, correct? If you go for the early bird special.
Correct. $59.99. It's going to cost $119 if you don't. So you really want to get in on that.
And we have a lot of people split right down the middle on this. I told you, I don't have any room to really gripe because I will have to get it. I don't know, like Mike Chappell, who's with us right now and rejoins, had a great point about you don't know how that is going to affect. I'm assuming this is just going to be a streaming service you have to get via Roku or something like that itself, correct? That's all it's going to be. It's not going to be offered anyplace else.
That's above my pay grade.
Yeah.
When I turn it on in the first game and I can't get it on my AT&T, then I'll say, oh.
People are going to be griping. So
people like me that don't look ahead and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, and I mentioned this. How am I going to I get my mom for this. I got to get her qualified for it, which is, I guess, sharing the stream and then making sure that she can get it because there's no bigger Obi Toppin fan than my 80-year-old mom down in Greene County in Owensburg, no doubt about that. So more on that story coming up in a bit. Mike Chappell rejoins us, as I mentioned right now. I asked
real quick, a shout-out to Steve Girardi.
Yes.
He set me up for Bob Seger.
Before the flood, too.
And it was amazing because it was kind of messy all day. It cleared up, great weather. And then about an hour after the concert's over, I guess they had to shut it down because of flooding. So we hit the window. So
Steve Girardi is an excellent dude. Another excellent dude is J-Law. J-Law's Foo Bar Lounge is not too far away. The pool is fixed and the beverages are flowing. If you want to wait out that rush hour traffic before you head back to Beach Grove, that's an idea right there with our good friend J-Law. I should mention tomorrow, Ingalls, Taylor's Pub and Table, Brent Halverson and Tony Renz and Evan Williams. Can you guys all join us coming up tomorrow? Hopefully so, because you know how Fridays go at a place like Taylor's with this show in mind. That is tomorrow. We start at 3 in Ingalls right off of I-69 at Taylor's. Hoping to see you there. Also, before I get back to Mike and about this Colts team right now, 239-1070. We're going to do this on the phones. Number 9, 239-1070. It is on Monday, Everwise Amphitheater downtown, Deep Purple in Kansas. Number 9, and do not disappoint, 239-1070. You'll win those tickets. Deep Purple in Kansas, Everwise. That is on Monday, number 9, you're a winner. How is the kicking battle going to this point with this team?
Well, right now, statistically, Groupies, got a huge lead. It was like 92% to 69% over Spencer Schrader. And then Schrader makes those two monster kicks in the opener to tie it. So I don't know. They're going to get rid of a good kicker. I sort of have an idea what they might do. But, again, it's funny, you've got a guy who holds the official franchise record with a 60-yard field goal at Seattle. And then you got a guy that kicked a 61-yarder unofficially in preseason. So, and the whole thing with Schrader is he's coming back from two major ligament damage in his kicking knee. So that sort of set him back a little bit, obviously, in the kicking competition. But he was as good as it got before he got injured.
How in the world? You look at Groupie over there. How does he get all that energy behind that football, kicking at it?
He looked, and we see him in the locker room.
He looks like he needs to go to class.
It looks like he's coming in to get everybody's cafeteria orders. He's not even big in shoulder pads, but he's got it's that golf leverage thing. And I tell you, when that 60-yarder he kicked, and it should have won the game for him.
Yeah.
In the last minute, and it didn't. So, again, it's really been fun to see Schrader. Again, he's had a lot of misses in camp, and for the most part, they've all been just left. And whether that's something still from the rehab or whatever, but again, I won't be shocked if they keep Spencer Schrader. I know they like him, but Groupie's going to finish camp with the numbers, if that matters to anybody.
All right, you mentioned Keenan Allen a little bit earlier, signed about 48 hours ago, made official, and the impact you expect. He's been a guy that's put up good numbers wherever he has been, most of the time with the Chargers, but a year with the Bears, he did that with Caleb Williams as well. What's your expectation for results from Keenan Allen, of which this offense needs and needs dramatically?
I was thinking that if you had an over-under of catches at 60, just because of the people around him, but I thought he'd give you 60 catches falling out of bed, because that's what he does. I have never, ever considered, and this isn't meant as a criticism, I have never considered Keenan Allen Hall of Fame level. He needs like 48 catches to be number 5 all time. He'll surpass Marvin Harrison in catches. Now, not the yards. So I think what he does, and we'll see. We were talking here, and I'll write about it a little bit tonight, is I think the player who will be most impacted by Keenan Allen is Josh Downs. Because all of a sudden this receiver group is back where it was. You've exchanged Michael Pittman, traded to Pittsburgh with Keenan Allen, an older version of Pitt. So I just all of a sudden, with Pitt gone, Pierce is going to get more, and Downs is going to get more. Well, all of a sudden you're adding a guy that's going to get, barring injury, 80, 90 targets. And there's only so many plays in a season. And let's say 1,100 snaps. Well, JT's going to get 320 because they're going to run the ball. So I think it's going to be they're going to test Josh Downs' patience again, because that's kind of the function of this offense now, which is a really good thing for the team. And I just want to see how you get your best players on the field and you maximize your best players. This is the old Tom Moore philosophy. So it's really going to be up to Shane and Jim Bob to find snaps, to find targets, and if they do, great. But somebody is going to be getting less than what they thought like 4 days ago.
So are you sure that we're going to see Alec Pierce in week 1? Absolutely, positively sure.
Well, no, but 90% sure. I think, again, what we don't see, I think he's working his butt off on the side behind, before practice. I think he's really doing stuff. But he needs to be practicing within a week. I mean, off a pup and practicing when they get back to town or get back to the complex. And I think if he's got 3 weeks to be back, to be back with the team, he'll be fine. But he's not – it's the thing people need to remember. He hardly ever came out the field last year. He was like 90% snaps a game, he and Pitt. We're not going to see that. But I am pretty sure everybody that I believe tells me, we talked to Ed Dodds the other day. He said, I'm not worried about Alec Pierce. Again, I understand where you're coming from, and you've got more than enough evidence to say, well, yeah, but what about back here? But we are past the timeline that they gave us. I'd have to go back and check my notes, but I thought it was – first it was a cleanup surgery, but it was more than that. It was the left heel and the ankle, and it was 3 to 4 months. And we're past that time, which is one reason teams don't like to give time frames. Is when you miss it. Well, hey, right. I thought you said. But if
that's viewed as a setback then.
Well, yeah. So I think if he's back and has 3 good weeks, 2 really good weeks to practice, he'll be okay. But that's why, and again, people need to realize they didn't sign Keenan Allen because of Alec Pierce's situation. They were going to do this anyway because they needed to. But, yeah, I'll get much more concerned if at the end of next week he's still on PUP, which means he cannot practice with the team. The longer it goes, then all of a sudden your antenna really start tingling. Mine are tingling a little bit, but not to where they're hurting my ears.
So what does he need to do? He used to be taking the top off, going down the field, and stretching the field. But we know this. You get a raise at that position, you're going to have to be asked to do a lot more. Where do we start in what you ask Alec Pierce to do and be production-wise for this team this season?
I never believed that he was going to get that many more. Yes, more targets, of course. But you can't increase the volume and lose the impact. Now, he's not going to average 20 yards a catch. It won't happen. But he still needs to average 16, 17. But with him being more involved underneath, It's going to make receiver DBs play up a little tighter, which if he's successful underneath, then it frees him up over the top. Although if I'm a DB, I'll tell Pierce, hey, if you want 12 yards, go ahead. You're not going to beat me deep. But him expanding his route tree is going to open up the deep, especially with everybody else doing what they do with Tyler Warren and Josh Downs and all of that. So, but I think anyone who thought he was going to all of a sudden get 130 targets was wrong. But he's going to be increased, but they can't lose the chunk plays because that's part of the reason he's getting that money. Not volume, but what he brings to the team.
Keenan Allen was a guy that they signed, obviously, and it took a lot longer than what we thought, but he had said when he was introduced to the media here that it was his decision to come here. Do you think that, and we saw that the Texans were compromised with an injury yesterday as well, and the wide receiving core, without a doubt, would he have been someplace else playing football this year had it not been the Colts that asked him and he made that decision to play here? Would he still be playing?
Yes, he'd play somewhere else. Yeah. But the fact that the Colts were interested, and let's not underplay Shane Steichen's influence. They were together for 7 years in San Diego / Los Angeles, and except for the 1 year, I think when Allen was hurt, he was 120 targets and 100 catches and 1,100 yards. So there's something there. There is, he calls Shane Steichen a genius, and I can't remember the last time Shane Steichen talked about a player the way he did Keenan Allen. Maybe Daniel Jones he has. So this was always going to be a matter of when, not if. I don't think that Houston or somebody could have swept in and changed things. It's funny, Shane Steichen mentioned how, and even so did Keenan Allen, how they talk all the time. Every week, I don't know, but, constantly. And I asked Shane Steichen, when did your talks go from, hey, how you doing, to, hey, when are you coming to Indy? It can't really, legally it couldn't happen until mid-March when his contract expired, but they've been talking. There was dialogue, and Keenan Allen even said, we had talks without my agent. So this was going to happen. This is not going to be signing Andre Johnson, who was so done when he came here. This is a guy that still can play, and he'll give him. It's a 1 year thing, and then they'll worry about 2027 next year. But this was going to happen, and when he walked in the media tent yesterday, he looks a little bigger than 6'2". Now he's not Michael Pittman, but he's a good-sized guy. He got work with the ones today. I think Shane said he had like 12 or 14 snaps, so he will be. Now, you would have won the bet if you said who practices first with the Colts, Keenan Allen or Alec Pierce. So, that's, again, the Pierce thing is a problem until it's not. But I feel a ton better now with this offense with Keenan Allen than without him.
That's Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. You'd mentioned the running game is not up to where it needs to be yet. Obviously, you believe in Jonathan Taylor, so it will be. But what comes next? And it looks like it's a rookie that comes next as of right now. And I don't know if we got any update on DJ Giddens. He
practiced a little bit today.
But he went out individually yesterday, didn't perform in the team orientation. Was it kind of the same scenario today?
I didn't notice he was out on the field with the 2s or 3s, but he was out there running, testing the hamstring. So I think he's okay. But every day he misses, it pushes him further down. Seth McGowan's had a really good camp. It's funny how whenever I see players anymore, when I see the number, I think, oh, that was who. In the last 20, I remember, was Jordan Wilkins, who was a pretty good running back. And if that kind of guy is your number 2, you're in pretty good shape. But what you need from a 2, barring injury, is come in and give Taylor a series off to where in the fourth quarter he's really healthy. And right now you think it's going to be McCowan, but you don't know. But you've got to find somebody that you trust when Taylor comes out. Yes, there's going to be a drop-off. It just can't be where he's a non-factor. And so far, you like what you've seen.
We saw Matt Gonzalez out here a moment ago, too. How's the offensive line? Look, we know all about how solid the group is as the starters, but there seems to be a lot of unknown after that.
I'm not crazy about the backups. I think they can get by at guard, whether it's Dalton Tucker or Josh Sills or Farmer. He'll probably be the top guard backup. I don't worry about the starting five, but I worry that the starting five rarely starts every game. Which the last time here was in 2018 or 19. And who's your backup swing tackle? I would argue that right now Mo Ali Cox is your third tackle. So they've got to solve that. Backup center, and also shout out to Ball State, Danny Pinner with a torn patella. Gosh darn, I hate that. And he was the guy they were going to miss because he could play the three spots inside. Not that Quentin ever comes off. So they need to get. And again today, the backup center, whether it was Morrissey or whether it was Tucker, the quarterback doesn't know where the ball is going to be in shotgun. So how do you play quarterback when you're not even sure you're going to get the ball? That's a concern. You've got to have – you normally like to have 8 or 9 guys that, if this guy has to play, we're okay. And right now they don't have that.
You mentioned Charvarius Ward and the red flags going up with the back situation. Let's start right there. And this thing doesn't work without the dudes in that secondary. I think we can both come to that conclusion.
Yeah, with him – this will be the best secondary they've had. I'm including the safeties because the safeties are deep. Without him, then everybody moves up a rung. Then probably Justin Wally, instead of being your nickel, maybe he goes outside. He had a great pick six yesterday. And they thought he was going to start outside last year, so that would work. But then you're going to put Cam Taylor-Britt either inside or outside, and he's going to miss the first game. When you lose, again, talk to Rich Venturi all the time. The NFL comes down to how good are your top 10 or 12 guys as opposed to the other team's top 10 or 12 guys.
Yeah.
And when you take a Mooney Ward out of there, it weakens you. It's like, again, not to go back to Keenan Allen, but when you bring him in, all of a sudden the guys who are like fours, Ashton Doolin and Treadwell, they were going to be threes, but now Keenan Allen lets those guys go back to really be what they are. And now with Mooney Ward, if he's out for any length of time, which we'll see, it moves everybody up and it jockeys around other guys to where instead of being a backup or the fourth corner, then he's your third corner, and it just mucks things up.
It's Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 with us. How concerned are you about the Ward situation right now?
Oh, probably more so than I am Pierce. So, I don't know where you put him, whether Pierce is a 5 and Mooney's a 7.
Yeah.
I don't know. When you're not practicing, there's a concern. When you're one of the top players and you're not practicing, it's a concern. When it's a back, it's a real concern. That's why I'm so impressed by Buck. You had him on.
Yeah.
I've had that. Mine's lower back, and I'm still not over it. The fact that he can come out here after herniated disc in his upper neck and play a man's game is amazing.
I asked him this because I was curious about the answer. When you've accomplished so much in all levels, you have a family you like to be around.
Right.
You want to do a lot of things, and you want to try to maintain a level of post-career health. I didn't mention making all the money, but that stands to reason.
He's made all the money.
Well, he's made all the money. How difficult that is to come back when you have an injury of that nature, and it comes down to, as he explained it, the juice of the challenge of wanting to compete.
Yeah, and he was very upfront with us, whether it was in June or whatever. Maybe it was in January. He said he had some dark moments.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about that, because you're thinking about, you played this game for 12, 14 years if you're extremely lucky, but then you get the rest of your life. He said after he had that surgery, he couldn't even lift his kids for several weeks. So, but that tells you how these guys are wired. It does. And whenever I've mentioned this before, and I mean it, whenever you hear Carly Ursay, Gordon, or Chris Ballard talk about horseshoe guys, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about that kind of a guy. I still would like to know in one of his private moments why he's still here. Why didn't he try to jump ship and go somewhere? He's lost like, I guess, attention and focus nationally because he's played in a market that hasn't been very successful. He goes somewhere else and people fall all over themselves because he's still an elite player. But I like Buck. It's his last year here under contract. If he comes back and plays well, maybe re-sign him again.
One of the things we talked about was how college athletics is now, and I said, it's so dramatically different than when you were at Oregon. I said, if NIL money would that supersede, in this case, legacy at Oregon? And he mentioned, I think I would choose legacy at Oregon over making money and bouncing around in other places in college athletics.
That's what I say. It's hokey, but a horseshoe guy, that's what you want. Again, could he have made more money elsewhere? Maybe. I don't know if he could have made more money elsewhere here because they paid him pretty good. But he could have chased more, all pros and all that kind of, and maybe a Super Bowl elsewhere. But I think some guys, and there's not a lot of them, that it means something to know I'm going to finish it here. We've been building something. Now it's taken longer than they wanted, but he wants to build something here. He wants to be part of, if they get over the hump this year, he wants to be part of that. And it's funny, now when they have the draft, the first or second round pick, he's played 3 places.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep track of these guys.
Yeah, you know what you have in him when he's healthy. We have seen and know what we have in the past at Center Grove, at Ohio State, and I guess we've seen it so far with Caden Curry. What's been your impression on the rookie from Center Grove from what you've witnessed so far?
I hope they find a place for him on the active roster as opposed to the practice squad. The George Gumps guy, they like him as well. And I think if you put either pass rusher on your practice squad, you're probably going to lose him, probably. And it'll be some special teams. They'll be like Robert Mathis as a rookie and having to make your mark on special teams, and then you earn reps. But you really hate to get rid of a potential pass rusher because they're just hard to find. It's going to be dependent on how the position breaks down. One thing that's going to help them is, I guess they keep 4 linebackers. If I gave you $100 for every time they've got 3 linebackers on the field, you might have $100.
Right.
But again, I like you see the potential and what he's done when he was out there in the third and fourth quarter against guys at his own level on the depth chart. But he's not dominating, but he's being successful against them, and that's what you want. If you're going to play against those guys your own level, then be the guy that people notice.
Can't see anything, I guess, dramatic in practice, but is it just me or have we not heard Leatu Latu's name at all?
Oh, he's had a good camp.
Is that why we haven't heard his name at all?
Yeah, this is one of those that when you're watching the 7-on-7 or 11-on-11, we got Daniel Jones, 11 of 13, and the defensive coach was just thinking, well, Latu would have had a sack here, would have had a sack here. I think we talked to Lou Anarumo next week, and I want to ask him, through their tapes, have they charted how many sacks Latu would have had at this point? He's had a good camp. He's got so what? He had a good camp last year. He's got to do it in the season. They've put a ton of pressure on him to be the guy. Right now there's no sidekick. There's no Mathis to Freeney. Not that I'm saying Latu is Freeney, but right now he's the guy, and that makes things tougher on him because you can slide your protection to him. But I think he's had a very good camp. It's very hard when you're not allowed to smack quarterbacks to pull up and say, well, I got him.
Right.
I think I don't worry about him until the season starts and see that these near misses turn into hits.
So Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. He is right here with us. Anybody surprisingly on the cut line here?
No. What's going to be interesting is Keenan Allen has always worn number 13.
Yeah.
Now he's wearing 10, which I had flashbacks to A.D. Mitchell. But we asked him about approaching Treadwell, and he said he's a veteran, and I didn't want to create any waves. So we'll see if 13's available on cut day or not. I don't know. But no, not really.
Did he say it that way? We'll see if 13 is available on cut day.
No, I said that.
Oh, you said that.
Please,
I was going to say.
No.
No, I thought he said. I thought you were saying you said that for a
no.
moment. I go, what?
Please, folks, that was me.
That was Mike.
That wasn't Keenan Allen saying, "Yeah, I'll wait a couple of weeks to get it." No.
Okay.
But no one really. Jalen Jones hasn't really done a lot. Remember, he started, was it 34, 37 games, and last year he hardly got on the field. And whenever they have the developmental period out here with the younger players where they really hit people, he's out there. So what people need to do is watch the fourth quarter and guys that are out there, they're fighting for that last couple of spots, which is great for them to still be fighting. But at some point, these rosters, these coaches and the personnel guys, for the most part, know who they're keeping and who they're not keeping.
And a shout-out to Steve Girardi, by the way, because we had to get my guy out to see the Seeger tribute at Conner Prairie right there.
Outstanding time.
We appreciate all you do for the station, pal.
Thank you.
Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. He is right there. I've got more tickets for you coming up on the other side. This courtesy of the president, Matt Goins, and AAA. I'll tell you about that coming up, too. We'll share more with you regarding DAZN. And if you're a Pacer fan, the fee. How many of you are down? How many of you not so much? It's a new era, kicking and screaming. I'm right there with you. We'll talk about that and more on the other side. Ingalls, Indiana, coming up tomorrow. Taylor's Pub and Table. Or Bar and Table, I can never remember. I just say Taylor's with Evan Williams. That's Brent Holverson and Tony Ritz coming up tomorrow in Ingalls, Indiana. It is a must-attend event. We'll talk about that also coming up on the other side. Sit tight. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. It is Connecticut Water Systems, and I am so happy to have them back as a part of the show roster with us. My friend Joe and the gang, always trying to make sure you have elite level water in your home. The drinkability, the washability, the bathability, all that is so important for you and your family, and sometimes that's problematic because of the water situation you have. And I can tell you this, if you don't have Connecticut, you don't have the best. Here's what's great about it. Get Joe and the gang in your home today for that free in-home water test. They'll find out exactly what a Connecticut water system can do for you. Something that is exclusive, specific to your home water needs. That's Connecticut Water Systems. Tell Joe and the gang that I sent you. Get them in your place for your free in-home test today. That's Connecticut.com.
The Ride with JMV.
I look a woman up and down and I say, hey, how you doing?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Field, the pitch. High fly toward left center. Friedel and Myers converge. Sunshine, a battle of ball dropped. 2 runs will score. Weatherholt at second. A gift. The Reds drop a fly ball that would have ended the game, and the Cardinals miraculously take the lead.
Yeah, a gift. That's what we call it, too. The gift that keeps on giving. Cincinnati Reds baseball. I believe that was Chip Carey on Cardinals TV right there. Euphoric in his description of the Reds sucking once again. 10-9 was the final today. Who dropped that fly ball? I didn't hear it. Who was that?
I don't even
Caleb?
think they said. I can't even tell from this video
Good
here.
Lord.
It was in left center. Yeah, just a rough way. And then, so the Cardinals ended up scoring 6 in that inning. John took a 10-5 lead. The Reds scored 4.
Yeah.
And
Great.
just couldn't get over the finish line.
That is some Cincinnati Reds, if I've ever heard it right there. Cincinnati Reds baseball. It's fantastic. Hey, welcome back to Drop Line Westfield, Grand Park for the final time with Colts camp winding down here at Westfield, not only for this year, but at least for the foreseeable future. I want to thank everybody out here for having us out here today on this final day, and DeForest Buckner for being a part of the show earlier today. If you missed it, you can double back on the podcast because it will be worth your time and effort. That is a good dude at 1075thefan.com. All right, I'm going to work this in right now at 239-1070, if you guys don't mind. Let's go number 9. This is courtesy of my friend Matt Goins. Matt Goins, the president of AAA, where at AAA you can find at the State Fair right now. You can sign up easily for AAA there out at the State Fair as we were yesterday. I think 4 days remain at the Indiana State Fair, but AAA is out there, AAA.com. It's really easy to download the app to your smartphone and become a AAA member, which is necessary today. But Matt, because they're also a part of Ruoff Music Center, has a couple of tickets for number 9 right here at 239-1070, Tedeschi Trucks Band and Alabama Shakes. That is on Saturday night at Ruoff, and that is 239-1070. Caleb, you get the winner. Drop me the winner's info, and I will pass that along to Matt so we can make sure that the winner is set up. The Tedeschi Trucks Band and Alabama Shakes coming up. Again, that's on Saturday night, 7:30, Ruoff Music Center. Number 9, 239-1070. You will be the winner and be able to go. And a shout-out to Matt Goins. And in honor of that, if you're not a AAA member, especially if you win these tickets, if you're not a AAA member, become a AAA member. Do that today. And you can do that if you're out at the State Fair. Very easily find that if you're out at the State Fair, AAA.com. Also want to remind you of this. The flooding situation is still, you have still a lot of our friends and neighbors are going through it. The devastating effects of last week's flooding. So here's what we want you to do. Radio 1 Indy, Fox 59, and CBS 4 are joining the American Red Cross for disaster relief for those affected by the flood. Your donation could help supply safe shelter, meals, emergency supplies, and support as families begin to recover from, again, the effects of the flooding. 1075thefan.com, and your donation can help. Again, the Heartland, our station, our community standing together. 1075thefan.com for that. Certainly still those with the incredible effects of having to go through that. Also, the news of the day today regarding the Pacers, it was a foregone conclusion, at least as was reported, that this was going to be the situation. But DAZN is going to be the coverage of the Pacers, the content provider, the streaming service DAZN for the Pacers this season. 22 free games this season at no cost on DAZN's app. 15 of those 22 games also expected to be available through a local over-the-air broadcast partner. We talked to Dustin DePurak of the Star, who had the story a little bit earlier. We don't really know. We're kind of guessing we know because you see the Fever, for example, later on tonight on Channel 13 in Dallas. We're guessing that is going to be the NBC affiliate WTHR, who is going to partner up locally for that, but still nothing official as of yet. In addition, fans will be able to access Pacers preseason games absolutely free via DAZN. Now, here's where we're starting for the regular season. 50% off the season pass for fans who sign up. Mark this date on your calendar. And I know some of you may be a little bit salty right now, and I'm not going to tell you not to be salty. I know it is absolutely overwhelming what you have to go through to watch your favorite teams. It is an absolute pain in the ass. But unfortunately, that pain in the ass, if it's yours right now, it is the world in which we live in sports content providers and really just television being provided in general. Some of your favorite things. 50% off the regular price of $119.99. So if you sign up by October the 15th for the early bird season pass, it's only $59.99. I don't know if it's going to turn your head, if it's going to change your mind, because as I mentioned, I understand that a lot of you are incredibly pissy about this right now. But to get that content for what we know right now for the season pass, $59.99, which is 50% off the regular $119.99. And, of course, that gets you Chris and Quinn and JJ and Eddie and streaming. And we asked and got answered a lot of the streaming questions. For one, you don't really know until you have it. Like, for example, sometimes like today, we don't really know before we go on exactly how things are going to transpire. That is just the way in this era of technology. I'm just guessing because DAZN is globally renowned for their streaming service and sports coverage, that it should be a hell of a lot better than what many of you had to muddle through the past couple of years. I'm just guessing. $59.99 for the early bird pass. But you got to sign up before October the 15th. That is $1 a game if you do the math. Free DAZN season pass for Pacers season ticket holders. All Pacers season ticket holders will receive a complimentary DAZN season pass subscription for the 2026-27 season. And Caleb, you're more savvy about this than I am. This streaming service, you can get that anywhere, I guess. I mean, on your phone, on whatever you have to watch these games, you can get it anywhere. And it's also now something you can get out of state, correct?
Yes, that is all correct. Whether you're watching on your iPad or your TV at home with your Roku, that's kind of how they've explained it too, John, or at least they've tried to explain it, is that it is accessible. I think when you get into the details of the streaming era, I would argue sometimes it's not as accessible. But like we talked about earlier, like I do think this is for what we were thinking it was going to be priced. I think this is a good sign and a good moment that we should be talking about. Hey, at least it's $60 when you get through before October 15th. I think that's all right.
Yeah, and listen, to me, it's a foregone conclusion, but I do understand because I sit here and time again, I kind of shake my fist at all the different avenues in which you have to go. I wish there was much more of a simple solution, gang, out there. Alas, there isn't. because you got everybody trying to find everything that is cost efficient for them and their business. And then you got the leagues that are trying to find the best deals in the upgrade of pay. I wish I had better advice, but if you want to watch, this is what you're going to have to do. And I'm going to have to, as well, kicking and screaming, go to some of these streaming services that I haven't had in the past either. And for me, it's been more about what I paid for DirecTV. And in the past, the reason why I had DirecTV is to watch this crappy baseball team that we just heard the play-by-play about a little bit earlier, blowing a game in the fashion in which the Reds can always disappoint. But it was also to watch Pacer games and just to know what's always there. I know the other logical part of it is you want it incredibly easy. Hopefully that with this streaming service, it is going to be a lot easier than what we know it to be in the past, because that was problematic. And then oftentimes you're just kind of up and your situation is going to be cobbled out by virtue of what type of internet feed that you get in general. And I also understand that a lot of us of the older generation and those even older than me are, again, probably a little bit fed up and wondering how they're going to do it. I've wondered how and why and when I'm going to be able to explain this to my mom. But at some point, if you're a Pacer fan, again, this is the avenue. And it does seem like that they have gone. I know that they're still putting a price tag on this. And if they wanted to, I'm sure that maybe you could find something and put it on there for free, although I don't know locally if there's any option other than a handful of games. Hey, we all, Generation Xers, those that are older, we grew up in the era in which you just turned on Channel 4 and bang, there it was. But that is no longer the situation. And I don't know, Caleb, how did this price tag compare to that Timberwolves scenario that you explained going back about a month ago?
That's a good question. I might need a second to find that out, but
you find that and let me know when you have it, because that was basically the basis that we described what was the situation, and with that we thought that was going to be pretty major and tough, difficult financially for a lot of people to digest. And when you first hear we've got to pay for this, I know a lot of you already have decided to not do it, but I don't know if you're going to soften that particular stance as we move forward. But what was the Timberwolves package with DAZN that we had talked about a month ago?
I've not seen an exact thing right now, John, but I do see they kind of minimized it to a per month basis, and it did come out to like $20 per month. They might be doing something similar to the Pacers, but I don't know if it's the exact same. I honestly might need the break to really pinpoint this down.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll take a break and we'll come back. Ripe Light, Grand Park, we're in Westfield. Falcons, Colts earlier today, the second of two, and the swan song for Grand Park, for Colts training camp this season, and for the foreseeable future. Preseason matchup number 2 with the Falcons and the Colts coming up on Saturday, 10 a.m. The Colts pre-game huddle starts in Touchdown Town with us. More on that, and Taylor's and Ingles coming up tomorrow with Evan Williams. That is going to be a party. That is a way to springboard into the weekend with us coming up tomorrow. That and more on the other side. Don't go anywhere. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Man, I'll tell you what, I false start on that thing all the time, too, with Big Red Liquors because I'm so excited about telling you about the product and the great deals that they have, and it powers the JMV Takeover every Saturday night. Hey, I'll give you a little bit of insight, too. The JMV Takeover, I believe B105.7 has a Nothing But 90s weekend, but we transform that as we normally do to a whatever weekend. Anything type of weekend with a lot of 90s, I'm sure, mixed in. But it's powered by Big Red Liquors with 100-plus locations in the state of Indiana. There's one near you. You can find it online at bigredliquors.com with the most incredible deals. You'll find out more tomorrow when I'm with Brent Halverson. But the Heaven Hill Distillery products front and center for your weekend. What's your favorite bourbon out there? Do you dig the Evan Williams, the Elijah Craig, the Larceny? Seriously, what if you're mixing up a margarita? You got the party going poolside, right? What about Luna Azul Tequila? All those at great deals going on now throughout the state of Indiana with Big Red Liquors. 100-plus locations, in fact, 19 new in and around Indianapolis. You can find those and even better deals with the Red Hot deals online right now. That's bigredliquors.com.
The Ride with JMV.
Drivers, start your engines.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Shout out with a spastic ending to a spastic show right there. Caleb, it's appropriate. If only you could dial up Dave Kickner right now, we could close out with him.
Hey, he would have fit in great on today's show. We could have just cut to break with that. We wouldn't have had the gold we had yesterday.
Let me tell you this, and this is true, and I feel this way about the people that I work with. And over the 22 years of doing my own show or being with Mark prior to that, the one thing that you recognize is that you love it when things aren't going the way that they normally do and the people around you step up. So whether it's Caleb back at the studio, and I know everybody was involved with you in there from Todd. Yeah, I'm sure that Cam was around there. I'm sure Nick was around there, to Devin, who was on site. Sometimes crap happens. Not like yesterday with Dave Keckner on here kind of freaking out. But, no, sometimes crap happens, technologically speaking. And it's how you respond to it. And it really makes me feel good, especially on National Radio Day, when you get everybody that is all in on making sure that the problem is being dealt with and fixed. So that's what I'm all about right there. How you deal with the issue and then how you move on. So thank you guys for that, too, whether it's Dev or Caleb back in the studio and everybody back in the building as well. Hey, tomorrow, Taylor's Bar and Table. Me, Brent Holverson, and Tony Renz together in Ingalls. Can you guys join us? It's going to be an absolute party. I cannot wait to see you on a Friday in Ingalls coming up tomorrow. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Enjoy.